welcome to Basketball Talk Pro. My name is Ron Ecker. I'm really excited about what we just did in the last session where we went through the plays. Actually, we gave you 7 clips. That was taken in the first 3 minutes of that game. It shows you how often and how much of the time is spent in what I call the third element, when players are improvising and not playing the structured method that they practice. Actually, there was 2 play breakdowns, as you remember, 3 fast breaks into transition, and 2 no plays in that 3 minutes of action right at the beginning of the game. I could not have found any better shots of those 3 things that I wanted to show you if I went through the whole game. That shows you how often they they happen. You probably didn't believe it, but it's there. It's facts. You can't deny it. There's so much to learn when you do film work. I just can't get over it. I took 9 notes, and I'm going to share those with you as we go along here during that little session. We kind of got a microscopic view of the whole game, or at least of what happens in a game. I've kind of made a graph of this, and I'd like you to take a look at it. We'll look at it right now. Look up here. This was the last, after I had done the 7th clip, 3 minutes into the game. But look at all the things that happen in that 3 minutes. It's a microscopic, as I said, view of a game. But we can look at this. Third element points. Brooklyn, they were leading 11-5 at that point. They scored 9 of their 11 points in the third element. A good share of it in transition. Only 2 points came from structured play or a play. Basically, when I'm saying structured points, I'm talking about plays. But there is some variance there at times, so I call it structured. Golden State scored 3 points in the third element points, and only 2 in structured points for their 5 points. But look at the percentage. This is the key. 82% of their points came on third element points, only 18% on structured play. Golden State, 60% of their points were in the third element, 40% only were in structures. But the 2 teams, 75% of the points between the 2 teams were scored in the third element. 25% were scored in structured play. Now, some of these are going to change, obviously. Golden State's going to win this game. They've won 16 in a row. We know that. But the percentages probably will not change a whole lot. And I'd bet money that this will not change a whole lot, those percentages. And the thing we can get from this, if you can't get anything else, is the power of that third element area that I talk so much about. I mean, all those games I've done off of film, it always comes out in this area. This is a little high. I'm guessing by the end of the game that this is going to be around 70%, 69, 71%, and this is going to be around 30% because it just happens all the time. Here's the point I want to make, and we need to learn this. If I were to put the percentage down here of time spent by coaches in the third element and the time spent on structured basketball, uh, it probably would be very close to zero here and 100% here. I don't care what business you're in, what lifestyle you have, but if you're spending most of your time on doing unproductive things uh, and not doing nearly as much or at all in the things that you get your points, it's that 70-30 principle in basketball. It's 80-20 in business and in most walks of life. So here's what I'm asking you coaches to consider. Let's coach this more, even at the expense of coaching this. And if you follow through these videos, and if you were to take our course, I try to show you how you can practice this. Basketball players in our country especially are really good at improvising. They're good because they do it on the playground. They do it in AAU. They do it in pickup games. They're very good at it. But it's very isolated what they do. It's more one-on-one, more post-up, more bad long shots, outside shots. They don't improvise as a team. My point is, improvising as a group is what you want to aspire to. This is what you want to build, because then you're going to do it better than those opponents that you're playing. And if you're doing it better, you're going to win more games. And so from this little 3-minute shot, we learned a lot. But there's some other things I made a lot of notes in 3 minutes of a game, 6% of the game. The other one is offensive rebounding. Now, I'm not sure in college and high school it's the same. But if you look at the NBA games, and I pointed out to you, Golden State would shoot and run back. 4 defensive players were standing underneath the basket with no opponents at all. Got the defensive rebound, were able to throw it out. You can say that, well, they got back and stopped the fast break. They don't really stop the fast break, because most fast breaks that score are done on kind of run out things off of steals or long rebounds or that type of thing. And it's just one pass, long pass, a guy goes in for a layup or something similar. But and a lot of teams now on offense, they get the defensive rebound, they walk it down because they don't think they can fast break. If you watch this game, these guys scored 4 points in this area off of transition. They pushed the ball against those 5 guys, and yes, they were back, but they were disorganized. So consequently, with 1, 2, or 3 passes and some cuts and some drives, they were able to create a lot of good opportunities. Don't give up on it. Attack those people that are doing that. Dropping back to get set up, attack them. Listen, you can get the ball down the floor in 2 to 3 seconds. They can't get there much faster than you. So you're still going to catch them when they're not ready, and you can attack them. It was some great shots of that in this 3 minutes. The other thing I want to that I learned from watching this 3 minutes, and I'm excited about what you can learn by watching films, was the pace, Golden State's pace. Now we know Golden State's really a great team. What have they got? But one thing they do have is pace and rhythm. I was impressed with the pace that they took. It wasn't fast, but it wasn't slow either. They were attacking, but under some real control and kind of flowing into what they were doing, whether it was to run a play or whether it was on the fast break. They had a nice pace and they had nice rhythm in the half court. I know that at the end of the game they were going to do better in this because they were just flowing into their plays, executing them pretty well, and with pretty good timing. I was impressed with that. However, on the other end, defensively, they just did not play defense in that first 3 minutes. Now you can say, well, yeah, early in the game, they're going to pick it up. They will pick it up. But what I've learned is that championship teams don't give you much space in a game. They don't give you many minutes where they're just playing cool. And eventually that could hurt Golden State. I don't like to see teams, come out and kind of, we're not worried, we're better than they are. Uh, the good teams, the really hungry teams, they play 48 minutes, 40 minutes, or 32 minutes. And they don't allow themselves to let up, to give any break to that opponent. Let me. I want one other point to make, but I'll finish it up on the chair rather than on the film. Well, I only have one more point to make, one more little note that I made on that, watching those 3 minutes. I got an email from one of the people, a lady that watches our films, our videos, and she pointed out to me how she had read an article that now that the coach has, got a bad back and can't coach, that even though he's not there, the system continues to succeed. The power of a system. If you had most situations now, a head coach is down for all that length of time, training camp, going through training camp, you'd have chaos. But the system is what won for him, and it's winning at this point. I thought it was a great point to make. But I do have to give credit to the coach that's taking over the team, Luke Walton. I think it's Luke. You can't win 16 games in the NBA without being able to control that team. He has to have wonderful game management, and he has to have wonderful practice management, or the weaknesses would show up. I think he needs to be given a lot of credit. In fact, from what I've seen, there's about 20 teams in the NBA right now who could use a guy like that over what they are paying millions of dollars for with the coaches they have. Interesting how the system, people can step in and run the system, but still they have to be really good at running the system. That's it. I hope you're having a great Thanksgiving Day. This is a wonderful day. There's not much stress except for the cooks, but you can kind of lay back, and you don't have to buy presents, or you don't have to do any of that, and you can have a very nice day. And it's a sharing day. I love the story of the Pilgrims. They invited the Native Americans in the country when they invited all of their people in on Thanksgiving Day. That's how it started. And I think that's what's happening all over our country, at least, and probably the world. As we do at this day, we share, and so everybody is kind of equal. that's it for today. We'll see you next time. Thank you.